Bear down, Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have come into this offseason with a lot of questions in a lot of different positions. And yesterday, if you guys tuned in, you saw me have a conversation about offensive line. You saw a lot of different conversations about where this team ranks, how good, bad, or indifferent the team is. What does it look like overall for the team, basically. Where do they rank? And we're going to check that out. We're gonna look at quite a few different sort of statistics, and we're going to get an update, and we're going to get kind of maybe we won't get a consensus because everybody's going to have their own perfect little idea about what they think there should be. We're going to cover some of the news. We're going to look at what the Bears got as far as hauls. We're going to look at quite a few different little pieces here. And we're going to try to put this whole Chicago Bears equation together and just kind of look at what do we need to do? What do the Chicago Bears need to do in order to have some success in this upcoming year? Now, a lot of the speculation, a lot of the concern has been, well, let's move on from Justin Fields. Now, does that seem like a reasonable accommodation? And I disagree vehemently that moving on from Justin Fields makes this team better. I do agree that he's been about middle of the pack, but most of my complaints have been really targeted towards Luke Getsy. Do I think that Justin Fields is a work in progress? Yes. Do I think he has some flaws? Absolutely. But it doesn't change that the product on the field has not been, he has not been the sum of all of the parts. This has been a broken system for an extended length of time. And we've got some data here to back it up. Now, here's the funny thing. If you ask the players in the league largely what they think, then you get a weird sort of they really confirm what a lot of us are saying. You run around the league, and what do you get? You got everybody saying Justin Fields, hell of a quarterback. They should absolutely keep him, and that the offensive scheme they had for Justin was trash. And you're getting NFL players around the league basically saying, yeah, playing the Chicago Bears offense has been basically easy mode for all of this time. And why is that? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into um, getting an offense ready. And one of the people who I think just guys, maybe it's unfair, but I think that look, Luke Getsy did an incredibly poor job of preparing this team week in and week out. I'm gonna give you a couple of rankings here that just kind of they will validate those opinions. Now, if you don't like Justin Fields, nothing I say to you today is going to change that opinion. By the way, you're not going to like him at the end of this anyway. So I'm not going to change your mind. What I am going to do is I'm going to ask you, what do you think would happen with who do you think actually makes this team better? And I don't know that there's an answer here that really fixes everything that everybody wants to see or needs to see fixed. There are a lot of holes in this team. Like anybody convincing themselves right now that Chicago Bears are a quarterback away from being a competitor in the NFL is fooling themselves. The Chicago Bears continue to be a work in progress with significant holes still left to fill. Now, we're going to start off with this, by the way. NBC Sports Chicago came out with an article today, and I want to address this article real quick because it says the Bears' offensive coach search is heating up, and the early candidates tell us a lot about where they want the offense to go. And they're looking at that Mike Shanahan. Spoiler alert, they're looking at that Mike Shanahan, but suddenly they didn't give you everything. They only gave you the portions that they thought were cool. So this is a misleading article, and it's a misleading article because it takes into account a few of the this was their requirements. Let's put it this way. This was their requirement. Ryan Poles and Eberflus had that press conference where they said they're looking for somebody who's a great teacher, adaptable, able to create explosives and innovative. That's what they're looking for, right? So they started with Shane Waldron, who worked with Russell Wilson, Geno Smith in Seattle, turned Geno Smith into the comeback player of the year. Good stuff. In 3 seasons in Seattle, his offense ranked 12th in EPA, 13th in success rate, 8th in EPA per rush, and 9th in EPA per dropback. Decent rankings. 5th in yards per play, 5th in explosive run percentage, and 9th in explosive pass play rate. So very, very decent statistically with Geno Smith, I might add. So then they followed up that interview with Clint Kubiak, Kentucky offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, and then Seattle quarterbacks coach Greg Olson. Now, what they did was they stopped right there because that's not everybody, because this didn't fit their narrative, right? They're casting a wide net, if you will. So Kubiak, decent caller for the Minnesota Vikings and Denver Broncos. Then you had Liam Cohen, who was responsible, or at least in part responsible, for Will Levis, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, really getting to the NFL, and Devin Leary. And then, as you go down the list, you start to see that there were a lot of different pieces that fit into this narrative. The narrative being that this was the Mike Shanahan. What are they looking for? And what does that tell you? Well, it should probably tell you most likely that the Bears would have been looking to move on. That they're not looking for, they're not looking to keep Justin Fields. So then everybody started to run with it. That's what's going on. But then we forget that Greg Roman was also interviewed. Greg Roman turned Lamar Jackson into an NFL MVP. 30, I believe, in Lamar Jackson's best season, 2019 so far. Maybe not including this year, where he's probably going to win the NFL MVP again. But in 2019, Lamar Jackson passed for 3,000 yards, rushed for 1,200 yards, had 32, I want to say, touchdown passes and 6 interceptions, and ended up really basically setting the NFL world on fire and changing the dynamic in the face of NFL quarterbacks forever for the better. And following up along those lines, now you have somebody who comes out with that sort of dynamic ability that you rarely get to see, that dynamic potential. And that guy's Justin Fields. Now, he's been disserved in all of this. Then, by the way, sometimes I feel like I'm on a, it's not a Justin Fields show, Chicago Bulls show, or Chicago Bears show. So, but my point is, I'm not here to chant about Justin Fields. I am here to chant about the Chicago Bears and tell you that I think the Chicago Bears would be making a mistake from moving on from Justin Fields, because it is not just all of this. So, but let's move on. There's a list here from Will Brooks, and it talks about what are the biggest needs of the Chicago Bears. Offensive tackle, Braxton Jones isn't the guy. Yep, that would be fair enough. Right guard, Nate Davis, he's not the guy. Dan Feeney or Lucas Patrick, they're not the guy. So, we have 3 big holes on the offensive line. An offensive line, by the way, that I was told yesterday was way better than Green Bay. That we're looking at this like it's an elite line. Like, we're getting this kind of run that might be. It's not the case, right? The wide receiver core, and I thought to myself, where do they rank? Where do experts seem to rank all of these these teams, right? And what does it look like? So, best offensive lines of 2023. This is an updated ranking as of January 12th. And who had the best offensive line? Basically, the Philadelphia Eagles had the best offensive line, followed by Baltimore, Indianapolis, Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, followed by the Dallas Cowboys, the Cleveland Browns, and the Green Bay Packers, coming in with a top 10 offensive line. Guys, I had somebody telling me that the Green Bay Packers had a worse offensive line than the Chicago Bears. And they were saying that, I think, with a straight face. They were typing it. They weren't saying it, but I think they were trying to convince people of that. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons, and then rounding out the top 10, we have the Los Angeles Rams, Then we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, still no Chicago Bears, by the way. The Raiders, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Niners, the Bills, the Patriots, really? And then we have the Houston Texans. Then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Arizona Cardinals, the Miami Dolphins, and then at number 24, finally, we get to the Chicago Bears, the number 24 ranked offensive line in football. And guys, that's not the kind of ranking that you're looking for. That's not the kind of level of success that you're looking for a team, for the Chicago Bears. That is absolutely crazy. Make sure, by the way, that you hit the like button on the way in. That helps me gain more subscribers. Trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers who hopefully understand that the Chicago Bears offensive line was not that good. Now, breaking it apart, Braxton Jones had an okay year. The problem was that Larry Borom was here for most of the start of it, and Larry Borom has just not been very good. Then Tevin Jenkins had a decent year overall. Until his final game, he had actually been a pretty stalwart guy. But Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, and Dan Feeney have not been that good at the center position. They've not shored that line up at all. And then right guard Nate Davis has been pretty subpar. So when you take out the fact that right tackle Darnell Wright, as a rookie, had a fantastic season, and that Tevin Jenkins, again, save for that final game, had a fantastic season. You've got three holes in your offensive line. You've got Braxton. By the way, I think Braxton Jones was better and got better as the year went on, but I don't think it was enough. And I would like to see, and in fact, I think part of this might be, if Braxton Jones were to stay and you replace the center and the right guard with more tenable players, then that might fix some of Braxton Jones' issues right there. So I dare say that a better overall line by virtue of center and right guard on the interior allows you to step up into the pocket a little bit better. And Braxton Jones looks a lot better because of that, because then you can step up. And if Justin Fields steps up into the pocket, then he's getting mauled because we're not when the pocket collapses, it's collapsing front side as well, and we're not getting that opportunity. Like if the pocket collapses around you, you step up into the pocket to make the throw. But if you're not protecting that area, then you got nowhere to go, and that leads to harried performance. So, I just want to say that this is one of the worst offensive lines in all of football statistically, no matter what somebody thinks about the rankings. And then quarterback index, you see a little bit more for Justin Fields. Now, I don't want to go through all of this, but it says the number one quarterback is Lamar Jackson, previously led by Greg Roman, I might add. Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, and Tua Tagovailoa rounding out the top five. But then you have Jared Goff popping in, Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, and Kirk Cousins. And then it comes down Jordan Love. We come all the way down to number 19, Justin Fields. Now, here is the stat, guys. This is the important part of Justin Fields that I think everybody needs to see. In the 15 games for this year, 66% completion. That's a really good level. But here's the thing. 3,070 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's great. That's a really good that's a really good time. Wait a minute. You know what? I'm looking wrong. 13 games. That didn't sound right. It sounded a little bit off. 61.4% completion, 2,562 yards, 16 passes, 9 interceptions, 10 fumbles. Now, guys, when you're harried and when you're stuck fighting what you feel like is for your life on every play, and when you're not getting the calls, when you're not getting, guys, how is there no roughing the passer on a running quarterback in an entire season? That seems phenomenal, right? So, and that's not going to happen again next year. I think the NFL is very aware that all eyes are kind of watching this. And if you see, by the way, Josh Allen, if you see Jordan Love, if you see a whole bunch, there's a litany. And by the way, there is a video of this online right now with everybody in the NFL getting the same calls over and over again that Justin Fields never seemed to get. So, and by the way, I don't think that that's an attack by the NFL or the anybody on Justin Fields. I just think that was a bad set of circumstances and just a bad run. it'll end up being a good run at some point. It just wasn't right now. All of those things tend to work themselves out. Those 5 losses that we had by a touchdown or less this year become 5 wins next year when the team gets a little bit better. So, but going back to it, Justin Fields ranks in the top 20 of the quarterbacks. That's not optimal, but I do want to say, when you have NFL players telling you they look forward to playing the Chicago Bears on defense because they know exactly what's going to happen, they don't even have to predict it, then that says a lot more about the coaches than it says about the players. And the players, the same players, they're also telling you one other important thing, and that is that Justin Fields is somebody that they are afraid of, that they respect Justin Fields. But the offense, incredibly predictable and not very, very good at all. So, and by the way, my computer might be breaking down. Who knows? Now, but that puts us back over here. Offensive tackle, right guard, and center on the 24th ranked offensive line possible. So, yeah, we need to do something about that offensive line. Hopefully, there's going to be some changes, some good players brought in the offseason. Hopefully, through free agency, would like to get some proven commodities with an opportunity to upgrade that line in specific positions. Connor Williams continues to be mentioned as the center despite his ACL injury. A lot of people excited about that. But here is the other part. The next thing is we're ranking all of the receiving corps of the NFL this year. And guess what? Number 32, Tennessee Titans. Number 31, New York Giants. Number 30, the Patriots. Number 29, the Carolina Panthers. Number 28, Chicago Bears. The wide receiver depth chart of DJ Moore, followed by Darnell Mooney and Equanimeous St. Brown, which, by the way, towards the end of the season, started to become Tyler Scott. That's not going to cut it in the NFL. And the tight end depth was Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan, who famously dropped a big play. By the way, no disrespect to Robert Tonyan. He had one big drop, but he did make a few decent catches throughout this year. So, I don't think that we've got I don't think that we've got as much a problem with Robert Tonyan as what it looked like on that. Mercedes Lewis, obviously at 39 years old, his time is done. But this comes in as the worst or one of the worst teams in all of football at the defensive or at the wide receiver position. So, hopefully something like Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. There's a litany of different really quality wide receivers that are out there in the draft that are available. Plus, a lot of conversation early on about bringing in Mike Evans on a 1 or 2 year contract. Mike Evans, a little bit older, but still clutch where it matters. So I think that there's a possibility that we have we've got an opportunity. So we'll see what happens there. We also have this is the draft that happened, and we've got Yo Pockets. I don't know who that is, but we've got. This is what we got by trading the number 1 pick last year. And say what you want about CJ Stroud. Nobody checks any boxes for CJ Stroud and says, hey, he's a better option than Justin Fields. As a matter of fact, he looked like an inferior product at OSU to Justin Fields in almost every way. So nobody saw CJ Stroud making the plays that he's making. And it could be a testament to coaching maybe on how he was used that might make him look really, really good. And shout out to CJ Stroud. He did look really, really good this year. However, in that draft, you got to stop and you got to look at, this is what the haul that we got. DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, the number 24 overall, and then the 25 second rounder. This was all for the number 1 pick the year before, for last year. So this is an incredible haul. So what I would think is, ride it out with Justin Fields is all I'm saying. Ride it out, see what you really have with a decent offensive coordinator. Ride this out, trade this pick again, get yourself a handful of new players There's always going to be, there's Shedeur Sanders coming out. There's Caller coming out next year. You've got plenty of different players that are going to be available. Is Caleb Williams a generational talent? And the answer to that, I don't think, is yes. I do not think that that's a yes answer. So, and if you agree and you think that Caleb Williams is a generational talent, then fair enough. But I just do not. I think, and as a matter of fact, I do think that Justin Fields has an opportunity with a good offensive coordinator to become something very, very special for the Chicago Bears. And I do want to say, the Chicago Bears have never been an air it out, throw it long, go crazy sort of offense. They've always been a tough, hard-nosed game management. And Justin Fields, I think, in my opinion, provides the Chicago Bears with what they need and want. And that is a quarterback who can manage a game, who's dynamic, who can make fantastic plays, that can wow you at any moment. And that sort of player leans into the run-first mentality with hard-nosed defense. Look, I think that Justin Fields is the guy that takes the Bears one step closer to the Super Bowl next year. That's my opinion. Do I think that it's going to work out with anybody else? Not really. I really think that this is the guy. So I would hope that that happens, but don't know. However, there's some more information coming out. One of them is the Bears are now predicted to trade Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons. Wait, did I say that? He's also predicted to be traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And by the way, I might add, the fans of those teams are incredibly excited about the opportunity to get a player of the quality and of the talent as Justin Fields. So, what is it that the Chicago Bears, if they're missing, what are they missing, and what do people see that in the NFL? By the way, what do people see in Justin Fields that for some reason somebody in Chicago might not be seeing? I think everybody I think everybody understands. Everybody understands that Justin Fields was miscoached and mismanaged. That's all I'm saying. I think that should be evident or should be obvious at this point. But Mel Kiper says that he thinks that the Chicago Bears could get a first-round pick for Justin Fields. Falcons, Raiders, Broncos, and Dolphins are teams to look at. I keep hearing 2 seconds and a day 3 pick is the best offer they'll get. And 2 of the 4 teams listed here have no interest. I want to say that the Falcons definitely have an interest. The Raiders definitely have an interest as by the way, as fans. The Broncos, Dolphins, not so sure. Don't know if they do or not. But the fans definitely have a different impression of Justin Fields than what some of these teams might have, or what is that value? So a lot to unpack, a lot going on here. Also, in the next and the newest mock draft, you have Caleb Williams coming in again at number 1, being drafted by the Chicago Bears. People are just really kind of, I think, forcing their way into this whole thing. The Bears move on from Justin Fields. Number 2, Drake May. Number 3, Jaden Daniels. Number 4, Marvin Harrison. Number 5, Malik Neighbors, rising way up the charts. Guys, I think Malik Neighbors is the every bit the receiver that Marvin Harrison Jr. is. So New York Giants taking Joe Alt. We're starting to see him move up in the draft. Olaf Ashanu from Penn State moving up to number 7. Number 8, Dallas Turner, the edge rusher. And then the Chicago Bears at number 9, picking up Rome Odunze. So a lot of possibilities here, a lot of opportunities. And that, by the way, leaves the New York Jets to pick up Brock Bowers, who I think we considered yesterday to be a game-changing type player. There's a lot of options that the Bears are going to have. And then closing this out defensively, looking at the 2023 regular season. And by the way, we were looking for stats, and we were looking for defense yards allowed, and we want to do the regular season. Why they're only giving us postseason right now, I have no idea. Jesus Christ. Yesterday, we could do a list here, and today, for whatever reason, we are not able to do a full list. 2023 regular season must be broken, or there you go. So Chicago Bears clocked in at the bottom defensively overall in yards allowed, allowing 4,043 yards. So to indicate or to say to you that the defense, while it did come on strong towards the end of the season, it did not, and it was the number one rushing defense in all of football by the end of the season. It gave up a lot of passing yards. We're putting a lot of faith, by the way. I want to say this. We're putting a lot of faith into Tyreek Stevenson, who we really look at as a pretty good player. Jalen Johnson, we're putting a lot of faith into these two cornerbacks, and Kyle Fuller and Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson. We're putting a lot of faith into some guys that gave up a lot of yardage. Okay. It has to be said. These guys gave up a lot of yardage. When you break this down and you start to look at the stats of how many yards per game they gave up rushing and passing, then you see a really different team than what we talk about. And when you look at the number of sacks by teams, you find the Chicago Bears second to last. Obviously, we've got to improve the defensive tackles. We've got to improve the edge rushers. Montez Sweat was a great addition. I think Gervon Dexter maybe started to come on towards the end of the year, but DeMarcus Walker did have a sack in the final game. But the right side of that line not doing a lot. So there's a lot of holes that are still left to fix for the Chicago defense that did a good job and will probably get better. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, they're only going to improve. Jaquan Brisker probably still only going to improve. In fact, Kyle Fuller probably still going to improve. Eddie Jackson probably needs to be replaced. TJ and Tremaine Edwards most probably are long haul. Like you certainly like to keep those around. Those two guys have been really good. Missed a few tackles, I do want to say. I think that's important to point out. We did have a tackling problem, and it's exacerbated when you have a history of Brian Urlacher and Dick Butkus and Lance Briggs and Nick Roach, and even recently. So Roquan Smith, you don't have a lot of missed tackles from certain guys. But you did have a lot of missed tackles, it felt like, in the early part of the year. Again, this could be a part of us not being ready at the beginning of the season, not going through the plays. Jalen Johnson, of course, famously already said, we didn't practice situational football. We didn't really go out here, and we didn't practice for the games. We didn't practice the things that might happen, that I'd really like to see that happen, that we would be a better team for that. But again, the Chicago Bears ranking at the bottom in a lot of different categories on the defense, despite being the number one rushing defense. So we do have to take all of that into account and try to figure out where it all fits in. Chicago Bears struggled just a little bit this year, struggled to find their footing, try to find their way in this whole thing. So maybe, just maybe, over the next couple of days, we'll get a little bit of clarity. Now, it would be wild to see that happen. I think it would be wild to see that happen because probably through February, before we really know, I think any information we get in January or through mid-February is probably just going to be speculation by some talking head like myself, figuring out what do I think is the best thing to do for the team. I don't think that it's going to be I don't think there's going to be anything coming out of Hallis Hall that's going to tell us what we need to know. Now, I will say this. I would say, and this would be a wild guess, if in a day or two or three, we hire Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, run it back, baby. That they brought him in to make Justin Fields look like a superstar, and they brought him in to make this team run the ball down people's throats and adapt to the players. So if Greg Roman is the guy, yeah, we're going to be running it back with Justin Fields. I think that's pretty much a slam dunk. But the question is going to be which offensive coordinator that's going to be. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of the offensive line ranked at the bottom of the league? The defense did rank at the bottom, despite being the number one rushing defense. Passing defense was just very bad. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys, and we will talk to you again very, very soon.